So I took my kids to the state fair. I haven't been to a state fair now. When I was in Kentucky, the Kentucky State Fair was huge. I mean, it was like everybody in the state went to it. The Ohio State Fair, when I lived up in Cincinnati, was up in Columbus. It was huge. And so the Alabama State Fair has been something that I've kind of done on a whim. I actually did some stuff with the radio station where I jumped 30 feet into 4 feet of water with a donkey once. I got a carrot. So I was a little skeptical, and it was at the Birmingham Race Course, which is a nice, clean environment and super cool. I like carnies. I like the freaks. And I think it's just amazing. And so I want a little creep camp value to what I'm doing. So we went to State Fair, and I wish I had gone a little earlier because then you'd have the opportunity to go experience these things yourself. So we get there, and first of all, it was like $65 to get it, whatever. I ended up dropping like $400 at the State Fair, which is almost impossible. And then, of course, you get the tickets for the rides, which are $1 a piece. You get 22 for 20. That's just for the rides. And, of course, I know some people will not get on a carnival ride. I like to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming that they're looked at, and I'm assuming they're going to be okay, right? So the first ride I get on, we got to get off because it's broken down. The second ride I get on, half the scrambler cars had caution tape over the straps. I'm like, okay, this is not good. So we got off those things. My kids went on the Ferris wheel. We went and fed a couple of giraffes, a zebra, which I've never seen, which was pretty cool. Then my daughter wanted to go on this Pirates of the World boat ride. You know, the thing that swings? I'm thinking, I got a 9-year-old daughter. I got a 14-year-old son who's really not into rides too much, but they wanted to go. My daughter gets on this thing, and it's like holy hell. It is like she is screaming, not fun screaming, like she really thinks that she's going to die on this ride. And, of course, all the things start coming back in my brain, and it was right over the portalet. So we had the portalet smell going on. We were swinging up. My butt was coming off the seat. My daughter was sitting next to me, and it was blood-curdling. It was Friday the 13th kind of stuff. And I felt horrible for her because she was just like, she thought she was going to die. And I kept saying, it's going to be okay. But I really didn't know if it's going to be okay. So it's going to be all right. It's slowing down, and it wasn't slowing down. It was getting higher. Every parent's been there. And so everyone on the ride started freaking out. I mean, you would have thought I was taking like bludgeoning my child on this ride. I mean, she was screaming. So everyone on the ride started feeling this horror of being on this pirate ship thing. And of course, the dude down at the bottom, he's just sitting there pushing buttons. He's not paying attention. He's looking around because he's heard it. He's done it before. He's eating a corn dog with his little globe of goldfish in the bowl there. Anyway, so I am freaking out, and she thinks we're on it for like 20 minutes. I think it was like a minute and a half. So that was part of the experience, and of course, I'm obviously here to tell you about it. So she freaked out, and I said, okay, well, let's change it up a little bit. We did get like it was like a $23 corn dog. And then we went and saw the Monkey Derby. Anybody who was there at the State Fair this weekend knows about the Monkey Derby. It's one of the coolest things. Monkeys riding dogs. Probably one of the funnest things I've ever seen. It was fantastic. I posted a video over the weekend. It was great. Anytime you can put one animal on top of another animal and let them run, it's great. Even if someone gets hurt, it's fantastic. It's great. To see these capucha monkeys on the back of these collies was fantastic. It was great. And then, of course, we grabbed some more dinner, and then we walked around. And I ran into a carny there who was a young lady. And not to give carnies, listen, we all have different jobs. We all have different cultures. We all have different upbringings. So whenever I see someone working a job that obviously I wouldn't want to work, I give them respect, even when they're creeps. And there are some creeps out there. And so I started thinking to myself what it must be like to be, I think it was Mitchell Entertainment or Mitchell Amusement, something or other, Mitchell Brothers, something like it. I kept thinking, what would it be like to be a carny to actually work in one of these things like year round? You're traveling in a car. There's probably not access to a lot of showers. You're eating bad food. You're hanging out with just goofy people. And by the way, it was a melting pot. There were blacks, Latinos, whites, Asians. It was like everybody in the world at this state fair. It was fantastic. It was great. And we all had to deal with each other. It was super. Didn't see any fights. Everyone was having a good time outside. My daughter screaming bloody hell. And so this woman walks up to me, and she was doing this, the ping pong ball toss, tossing the little bowls of whatever it was, and there were rabbits. I'm not sure why there were rabbits all over the place. Probably just to get the kids over. And she looked at me, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Her hair was, I'm going to be nice here. Her hair was frazzled. She looked like maybe she maybe took a kick from a donkey in the face because she was missing a couple of teeth up front. Nice complexion. Looked like she had got a little sun. She was a little leathered. And she had a pair of jean shorts on, a pair of flip-flops, and of course it had rained a couple days earlier, so her feet were brown. Not that I noticed or anything. And she had a nice little pink bow in her hair, and she was about, 4'11". And so she walked up and she said, "Tony?" I was like, "Oh no." And I start going back through my head of, the 30 years that I've been in bars and hanging out, at the Quest and Senior Friday. I had none. She's like, "Tony? Phil?" I was like, "Oh no." She's like, "Is that you?" And I was like, I'm looking behind me. I'm like, and of course my son, she goes, "Yeah, that's my dad's name, Tony." And I'm like, "Oh, damn it. What are you doing?" She's like, "Do you remember me?" And I was like, and of course, I'm an entertaining guy. Yeah. Where was that from there? And she said, "Don't you remember the night we had back in 1993? And I was like, I just looked, I said, "Refresh my memory." She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Refresh my memory. Just help me jog my brain a little bit, because, I've had kids and I got married and I'm divorced, and I mentioned the fact that I'm divorced now because I just didn't." She's like, "We were out at this barbecue you were doing with the radio station, and you and me walked out." And I was like, "Okay," with the kids. And I was like, "Why don't you?" And I didn't want my kids to leave because I didn't want her to get into the story, but I wanted my kids to leave to figure out, is this true or not? And so evidently, I evidently spent a night with a carny. I was like, "Oh God." And I was like, "Wow." And I wanted to say, "There's no way in hell I'd ever sleep with someone that looks like you," but I couldn't say that. I was like, "Wow, you've changed a lot. That's been 18 years. And she's like, "I know, things change in life." And I'm like, "Yeah, they do." But she did give me some free ping pong balls to, she gave me some free ping pong balls. I was like, "Oh my God. I'm going to have to go to the clinic today just to check up on something that happened 18 years ago." I was like, "No, Lord, please." But they did have racing monkeys on the backs of dogs. It was great. I was talking to my radio partner, Dr. Josh. He was dropping his daughter off at the College of Charleston this past weekend. His son is going to the University of Oxford, so his wife took him there, and then he took his daughter. And he met her boyfriend and went through the whole experience, and I'll talk to him tomorrow about it. I cannot wait to ask him some questions about this, because dad meeting the boyfriend for the first time when his daughter's out at school, 800 miles away, it's just a great story. But he's like, "Man, I'm having a really difficult time here." And I said, "How's that?" And he goes, "I know my daughter, she's 19, 20 years old, love her to death, but these girls are just wearing different types of clothing that really starts making me feel a little uncomfortable." And I said, "Do tell." And he's like, "I'm seeing all these co-eds and these sororities and the clothes they're wearing, and it's hot, and we're by the beach, and it's like, and I'm imagining my daughter wearing the same clothing, and it's about making me want to rip my eyeballs out." And then he's meeting her new boyfriend, who I think is in the Marines, and it's just, and he's like, "I'm about ready to kill somebody." I said, "No, I get it. I got a 9-year-old that I'm already starting to go, whoa, hey. So this story came out over the weekend. 30 Oklahoma high school student girls were suspended Friday after protesting the dress code, claiming it as sexist. Dozens of Mustang high school students held signs reading, "Dress codes are sexist. My body is not a distraction. And if teens' midriffs distract you, you should not be working with teens." Oh. The students complained the teachers, especially male teachers, were hyper aware of female students' bodies and often ignored when their male counterparts violated the same rules in the dress code. TikTok user 777Jade, a student in the school, showed a video that became viral and earned more than 400,000 likes to the platform. The clip shows students holding the signs and taping them to their school's walls. Our school had a protest against the dress code yesterday, last Thursday. In a discriminatory way in the sexual harassment of the male teachers, she also accused school officials of taking and ripping their posters after having told students they would not have them returned. You know what, Paige? One girl said, "Shame on you. You know how many times I've tried to help you? My mistake," a school worker could be heard saying in the video to a student in the principal's office. Mustang's dress code prohibits students from showing their cleavage and midriff. Tube tops, halter tops, off-the-shoulder tops, spaghetti straps, or backless tops are also prohibited. The school's handbook states the purpose of the dress code is to permit students to dress according to current fashions and at the same time reinforce distraction and district guidelines and restrict disruptions in the learning environment. What the hell that means. There were a handful of students who violated the student code on the first day. After class began, those situations were addressed. We remain committed to supporting our students and providing a safe and nurturing learning environment. This is really interesting because we have gotten into this discussion many, many times, Dr. Josh and I have. It's very interesting because when males, and I'm just going to use this as an example because it appears that the majority of these are male teachers. Whenever males and their lizard brains see too much skin, regardless of whether it is fashionable or within disciplinary measures, period, it can be considered a distraction. For females who are showing off their midriff, and again, I have no pictures here and I don't really want to see them. I've seen enough. I've been to high schools, I've done career days, I see it, and I understand that it's fashionable, and I understand girls want to look good, and I understand what they're wearing, but at the same time, this is not a party, it's not a nightclub, it's school. We've even discussed the whole uniform idea. Most kids hate uniforms until they're made to wear them, and then they love them because everyone has to wear the same thing, and they don't have to worry about it. Ask any kid that's in a uniform environment, and they're like, "This sucks." And then after about 3 weeks, they're like, "I love it because I don't have to worry about what I'm going to wear. I don't have to worry about body shaming. I don't have to worry about overexposure, underexposure. I don't have to feel like I have to look like everyone else. I already look like everyone else." But for the idea of these girls to be calling out their male counterparts or their teachers in this particular case, and saying that if my clothing is distracting you, you're a creep. That's basically what they're saying, right? And it's not true. It's just not true. I don't know. Again, I have not seen pictures of these. And I think in most cases, schools around here in Oak Mountain and certainly in the more conservative state of Alabama, spaghetti straps, tube tops, certainly. You can't wear tube tops to school. I do see a lot of girls wearing midriff things where they show their stomach a little bit. I don't really have an issue with that. Doesn't freak me out. But to call out and flip the tables on this thing and make it look like your male counterparts or your male teachers in this case are creeps because you're showing too much skin, I don't care how old you are, ain't cool. And I can only speak from a guy's standpoint. If I'm looking at something that I normally wouldn't be looking at because it's covered up, is that considered a distraction? And I think the answer is yes. It may not be a perverted or creepy or sexual or intimate distraction, but it's a distraction. I'm just here to tell you, because I speak for all guys, whenever guys see anything flesh-colored, we get a little excited. Period. We just do. Is that creepy? Is that lizard brain? We try not to look. I was at church, Our Lady of the Valley, yesterday morning, and saw a couple of teenage girls, I'm assuming they were teenage, that had skirts that were entirely too short and midriffs on at church. And I'm like, And, of course, a church is a place for anybody. Anyone can go to church. You can wear whatever you want. I've gone and wear golf shorts and T-shirts, and if I just got done cutting the grass, I'm going to catch 4 o'clock on Saturday. I'll run in. But to wear that type of clothing, and it's after Labor Day. They weren't wearing white. But to wear that type of clothing in a place of worship, call me conservative. I just don't think it's proper. And, of course, I'm looking at their mom, and they're wearing the same thing. So in a place like school, it is a distraction because you're there to learn and be educated, not to be looking at girls. Now, I'm not so damn old that I don't understand that boys are going to be boys and girls are going to be girls, and we're going to be looking at each other, and people meet each other, and they start dating there, and there's kissing out in the smoking pit. Oh, that's right. They don't have smoking pits anymore, do they? I get that. To be calling the teachers out for it and to basically be calling male teachers creeps because they consider a girl wearing a midriff or spaghetti strings a distraction, I think, is just wrong. Anyway, get your thoughts on it. We'll talk to Dr. Josh tomorrow. But he brought it up to me. He just texted me a minute ago. He's listening. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning right here. And again, it's one of those things where we always point it back to the parent. You know, whenever you go to these cheerleading camps, and I mentioned I went up to Knoxville, Opryland, something, I don't know what it was, a few years ago. And they had a cheerleading competition going on. And it was everything from like 3-year-olds to like high schoolers. And everywhere you looked, it was girls in their cheerleading outfits. And I'm like, oh, did you guys just get done performing or are you getting ready to perform? Oh, no, we're not performing till the night. And I was like, it's 10 o'clock in the stinking morning. Why are you wearing your cheerleader suit now? Put your sweatpants on, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? If I'm heading to the pool and I'm wearing my Speedo and it's 8:30 in the morning and I'm sitting in an IHOP, maybe I should put some pants on. Just saying. Don't really get it. We had some interesting talk. Instagram, evidently a damning report that came out last week. We actually did something on Fox 6 last Thursday. About 1/3 of all young females are affected in a negative type of way from the platform of Instagram, and that goes for depression, anxiety, more and more things. It goes on and on and on. Well, Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, released another defense of its subsidiary, Instagram, on Sunday, insisting the popular photo-sharing app makes teen girls feel better about themselves. The company's rebuttal comes after a damning investigation found that Facebook knew of its platform's toxic impact on young people and failed to fix it. In the blog published Sunday evening, Facebook's vice president of research responded to the Wall Street Journal investigation that found, among other things, that Facebook's internal research had shown the app makes body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls. This representative did not confront many of the journal's assertions. Instead, she argued the journal's characterization of Facebook's findings on how Instagram affects body issues in teen girls was without context and simply not accurate, even though the report quoted directly from leaked internal documents. I was on my phone yesterday. I do all my social media on my phone. And every time I'm around my kids and I'm on my phone, I mean, if you look at the weeks I don't have my kids, I'm on social media a hell of a lot more than I am with my kids. But I realize it's a part of the job that you got to do. You got to get it out there. It's free advertising, right? So every time I'm on my phone and I'm trying to post something or something just happened, I thought, oh, this would be really funny or this would be really good or I need to put this on KCAST Radio or the Tony Kurre Radio Network. And the kids are like, you know, grabbing my phone, knock it off, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, just give me a second. And I always think as an older individual, I could be spending time with my kids doing something right now instead of trying to post something that's going to take me 5 to 7 minutes because I have to put it across all platforms. And I feel bad. There's an interesting group of people that have to be on social media that don't want to be on social media. Then there's an interesting group that has to be on social media that doesn't mind being on social media. And then there's that group of people that just love being on social media. And the difference between Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, which I consider the 3 big dogs. Facebook is like you can spend hours on it. It's almost impossible not to spend hours on it. People will message me, and I won't respond for like 3 or 4 days. I'm like, I'm sorry. I mean, I knock it all out at one time because I don't want to be on Facebook for 2 or 3 hours a day. And most people say I don't either, but you are. It's almost impossible. I know some people wake up the first thing in the morning, they get a cup of coffee, and they go to their Facebook. They want to see who's reacted or responded to something they posted. They want to see what's going on in their little circle of friends. And that's fine. You do whatever you do. You. I don't find that I have enough time in the day to spend 2 or 3 hours a day on Facebook. We had an interesting firewall that came up at my previous job that found out that the average person who got on Facebook spent like 6.5 hours a day on it. And I'm thinking to myself, that's 6.5. And if it makes you feel better about yourself, or you're contacting and networking using resources for personal things, for work, that's great. Again, I'm not being critical here. It's just not what I like to do. And I know a lot of people love being on Facebook, so much so that they now sell things on Facebook. They have Facebook groups. I mean, it's taken over a lot of people's lives. And again, if that's for you and you like that and it makes you feel good, that's super good. Twitter I like because I can get in and get out. You post something, get the hell out. Throw the ham sandwich into the room of fat people and run. Facebook more difficult to do because there's just too many things to check on. There's too many different notifications. There's too many responses. It's just very difficult. Twitter in and out. And then you got Instagram that obviously is for the younger group, but the bigger group of influencers. Instagram, by about a 4-to-1 shot, has got more influencers. That is, people that can go viral and use things on Instagram. Because it's really a melting pot of both Facebook and Twitter into one, and of course it is graphic. It is more not graphic in a sexual way. It's more graphic from a visual standpoint, and so I get that. And so I guess what it comes down to for young girls, if that's what we're going to talk about here, because that's what this article, this Wall Street Journal article, is about, and the rebuttal from Facebook/Instagram, is that it's all in moderation. It's a modern, and I hate to say that, it's like telling a married couple to communicate. No shit. But when you get on social media, and I think we've all hit this, where you'll see something at the end of the week where your usage will show up on your phone, and it kind of blows you away a little bit. You're kind of like, holy crap! I was on 17 hours this week. I was on social media 17 hours this week, and I thought it was lower this week. I didn't think and next thing you know, you realize that you're sitting there on your back porch on your phone for like 2.5 hours. And again, it's fine. It's great. If you got nothing else going on, super. Spend 12 hours a day on it. I don't care. Maybe that's how you make your living. That's great. Do what you got to do. Do you. But for younger girls who are on Instagram for an extended period of time, I would really be interested to find out that the third of girls who feel a more sense of depression or anxiety, or that are more medicated because of Instagram, I'd like to know how long they're on it and what sites they're actually going to. Because through the algorithms, and I'm telling you right now, I have done enough research and work with Facebook that it is super creepy, dark stuff. Anybody that's in a business that's ever taken out ads and you want to go hit particular target groups and algorithms, it is unbelievable, the information that they gather, not only from what you're searching for, but what they're searching for from you. That's why the ads are so damn cheap. Yeah, you get $5 boost, sure. Tell me you're going after a 25-year-old bowler who likes toothless women that live up in Huntsville. So when it comes to young females, and again, and this seems to be somewhat of a pattern we've been talking about in the Kurre and Klapow show, it goes back to parenting. What are your kids looking at? Yeah, I told my 16-year-old kid, soon to be 17, that he could not get on social media because he gets his feelings hurt. He's a soft guy. He's got a big heart. And I'm like, you don't need to be on social media. I'm telling you, I'll post a picture of my 9-year-old daughter and someone will say something creepy within 3 seconds. I'm like, dude, I'm posting a picture of my daughter riding a horse. What are you doing? What's going on? I said, are you ready for that? Can you deal with that? I used to do an afternoon radio show, classic rock show, and there was this woman that would call every day at 3:30 and she'd go, you suck! Then hang up the phone. Did it bother me? No. Did it bother me? Hell yeah, it bothered me. Still think about it. I'm still talking about it 25 years later. It just gave me that little shade of doubt because I wanted to find out why. Of course, she'd always hang up, and I did end up finding out. We became friends. Had a cup of coffee. Now she works at the carnival. No, I just think it's really, really interesting. And again, this is one of those things where if you have a young daughter who is on a platform like Instagram, and it's hard to not get on Snapchat or Instagram or TikTok, for God's sakes, you got to do things in moderation. And man, when you start posting stuff that people really, really like, and you see those numbers go from 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000, and all of a sudden you're getting all that admiration, and even if it's bad admiration, if you know what I'm talking about, then all of a sudden you start feeling kind of special about yourself, and in the grand scheme of things, you're just a grain of sand on the beach of life, man. Something to think about. Tony Kurre here on the Tony Kurre Radio Network. Kurre and Klapow every Monday through Friday morning between 7:30 and 9:30. Dr. Josh will join me again tomorrow morning. He has been taking his daughter to Charleston College, College of Charleston. His son is going to the University of Oxford. That's what happens when you have two psychologists make love. You have kids that do really well for yourself. Not to say they didn't work hard to make it, but they've got the genealogy. They got the genetics to make it happen. I can't wait to get him back in studio tomorrow morning because he's giving me, he doesn't know he's doing it. See, when you do a show with a psychologist every morning, you never know what they're thinking about you. Because everything I say, I think it's like you're at a party and you realize you're talking to a psychologist like, oh God, what did he just figure out about me, right? So I go through that like 2 or 3 hours every day. It's like free therapy. I think I'm into him for like $600,000 at this point. But he gives me little tidbits of information too. He texted me something yesterday afternoon that he has no clue we're going to get an entire show out of. And it has something to do with his daughter. I was like, oh, that is so good. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning at 7:30. Make sure you listen up. And that's the one thing, if you listen to our show, man, we get after it. We're two dudes in our 50s. Don't hold that against us. We think we're in our 30s. We act like we're in our 20s. But we've lived it. There ain't a whole lot. There's one thing I have not done in my life. I'll do anything once as long as it doesn't hurt anybody but me. There's one thing I have not tried in my life, and I'm not going to. Just because I will try anything once, but that's not going to happen. You know what I'm talking about? And so we speak words of wisdom around here, and I'm always trying to pull it off the rails, and of course, Dr. Josh, because he's a doctor, brings it back, unfortunately. So we'll talk to him again tomorrow morning right here at 7:30. We'll also be there on the Facebook Live thing on the Tony Kurre page. Go to TonyKurreRadio.net, TonyKurreRadio.net, formerly KCAST Radio. And we're changing over our app as well. It's the same app. The 100,000 folks have already got our KCAST Radio app. You're good to go. And we're going to start adding some unique programming. I got a chance to reach out to Austin Hanks a couple weeks ago. He is Billy Gibbons' best friend, that Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. And after Dusty Hill passed away, he did the show with us a couple times, and I said, man, how about doing a blues show on the Tony Kurre Radio Network? And he's all over it. And this show is going to be run several times during the week, and Billy Gibbons will join him on this show. We'll have some more details about that coming up here shortly on the Tony Kurre Radio Network.